The following episode is brought to you by Poison City Brewing, proud makers of Durban Poison Cannabis Lager, the beer that invites you to live your poison. How's it going, guys? You got myself, Nasiphi, Zwane. I'm back again with another episode of Sludge Underground, and I've got my co-host with me, Meagan from Lemon Dove. Super stoked to have her here today. We have a super awesome guest, as always. And bro, I'm not gonna say much more, man. You're a super interesting person, bro. Just judging from your Instagram alone. So just let the people know who you are, homie, and then we can basically just roll on and just learn more about you from there.
Thanks so much, Brotherhood. My name is MOONGA K. I am a 23-year-old alternative soul singer based in Joburg. I love donuts, and I think that's a cool starting point for me.
What would you say makes the perfect donut, and what sort of topping on the actual donuts would you say is like God tier?
Wow. So it's interesting because I'm not really a sweet person, but I really love any donuts with like cinnamon or with like a really good glazing. What is it? Honey. I really love honey glazing on donuts. I don't know if you've ever had that, but I'm super specific about having honey on my donuts. Not much of a fan of chocolate, but I think Krispy Kreme's got a good handle on the types of chocolate donuts that they put out.
Yeah, that is really solid, bro. I feel like people should be in the know, in terms of where to get, the best donuts. And you just mentioned Krispy Kreme there, so shout out to them. And yeah, bro, like this is
pretty dope donuts as well. Like they've got really rad cinnamon donuts. Like I wouldn't fault them at that.
Dude, they I know you're not really a fan of the chocolate, but dude, their chocolate, the ones with the chocolate, coating on them they're fire. It's fire, dude. The one problem I have with the Krispy Kreme is the sugar, bro. Like there's so much sugar in there.
It's overwhelming sometimes, but it's like if you want to have a good sugar rush, go to Krispy Kreme.
I have a question about donut etiquette in a social setting.
Let's do it.
How do you navigate who gets the last donut?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. In a situation involving me, I would get the last donut because why not? I'm gonna fight you regardless if you try me.
So you've just claimed that's mine. I am the donut person.
Like if you're too slow to go and pick up the last donut, then you know what? It's hard luck for you. It's gonna have to go to me.
Would you guys sort of place long donuts in the same tier as normal like donuts, or is that like sort of doesn't really compare?
Yeah, does the hole and the round shape make the donut?
Actually,
that's an interesting one.
We'll leave it to the listeners to decide. Let us know. Just moving on from donuts and whatnot. When it comes to you, being an artist and whatnot, I want you to take us to the very beginning. When did you realize that this is what you're meant to be doing, man?
Yeah. Wow. You get ready for a story. I started singing when I was 6 years old. I grew up in Botswana, so I'm from Zambia, but I grew up in Botswana, and it's a very small country, so the opportunities are just there's a lot of opportunities to be creative and to do shows and everything. And I was a very ambitious kid. I grew up on a lot of different types of music, from R&B, jazz, reggae, gospel, and it was just a lot of influences. So I just really wanted to sing. And I started singing when I was 9. And from there, I was performing a lot, doing a lot of, talent shows and school productions. And there was a point though that I think I was 16, 17. I was failing dismally in school, and I had to make an agreement with my parents to be like, listen, you have to take a break from music. You'll go back to it when you graduate high school. And by the time I graduated high school, I just lost the passion that I had for music. And I think it was mostly because a lot of the people that I was surrounded by only saw me as a singer and nothing more. And, I wanted to prove them wrong. And so I was very dramatic, and I was like, I quit music. And that went on for 2 years. I'd moved to Joburg the year after that. And so I wasn't doing music. I wasn't writing. I wasn't, performing. I was just like, I want to go and, be an investigative journalist and just focus on that. And I took a volunteer job at a music festival and worked a few music festivals after that. And I was working for a couple of artists, and, doing the behind the scenes of, curating a festival was so interesting to me. And I just started developing my love for music back. And I told myself I wanted this life for myself. And that's when I put out my first EP. And from there, I just, constantly writing, constantly creating, and especially constantly performing around the country. I just decided that this is supposed to be the life that I'm supposed to be living. I'm supposed to make music. I'm supposed to write. I'm supposed to sing, because it's the only thing that makes sense to me, and the only thing that makes me happy, truly.
And when you were mentioning just your parents in the equation there, bro, that, you sort of had to make sort of like an agreement with them in terms of pushing harder in school and whatnot, did they play, how much of a role did they play in you sort of becoming an artist, if any at all? Maybe even if it's through maybe some of the music they might have listened to while you were growing up, do they have anything at all as a contribution to you being an artist?
Yeah, completely. I mean, first and foremost, my parents have always been supportive of my dreams. There's never been a time where they were like, go and study, accounting so that you can work an office job. They were just like, no, have, something to fall back on in case, it doesn't work out, because the industry can be so fickle. But my parents have always been supportive of my dreams. And my dad is a part-time musician, and my mom, is everyone in my family sings, and she's obsessed with gospel music. So our household, ever since I was a kid, was filled with different types of music. And despite the fact that my dad he's involved in reggae and my mom's in gospel, they still allowed me and my sisters to find our own worlds of music and live in those worlds as wonderfully as they did with theirs. So I owe a lot of my musical inspirations to the stuff that my parents raised us with, the cassette tapes, driving around, road trips, listening to Craig David or the Anita Baker, and everything in between was just a beautiful experience. And I think it contributes to the fact that I don't like to constrict myself to one genre. I like to live in, different worlds of music.
I think any parent that listens to Anita Baker has got like impeccable taste. So shout out to your folks for that,
Sweet
man.
Love on a Sunday morning. Beautiful.
I think with those foundations, only good things can come. Like, it's difficult to have that type of upbringing and then go ahead and not make music.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that the fact that you took a break from music before writing for your EP for free, do you think it came out as sort of like this bottled up energy from that period in the break?
Yeah, completely. I think with free and with a lot of my writing, I focus on a lot of self-introspection. And what I wanted to do with, that was my first body of work. And so I wanted it to be a subtle and personal introduction to, who I was at the time and, the artist that I wanted to become from there. And I was 18 when I wrote those songs. So I think I was at the precipice of just like figuring out what kind of adult I would be morphing into. And, what I like to say about Free is those are songs that I wish someone had written for me, and written for me at a time where I was just so lost and confused about what I wanted to do and the things that I wanted to do, and feeling limited by, the perceptions that were placed onto me by the people that I was around.
On that topic of you, having taken a break and whatnot, you did mention there that you started working sort of behind the scenes at festivals and whatnot. What is it that you took, from your time working at these festivals?
It's so much work. I mean, I knew that it took, months of preparation or even years of preparation to, curate a festival, but I didn't think that it would be so hectic. We were helping out with the groundwork and, helping out with tickets, helping out with a lot of angry people, helping out with, staging and everything, and getting artists from, their parking to their backstage to media and all that stuff. And I was like, this is a lot. How do people do this, every 3 months? How do you profit off of this when you're losing so much money in the process? It just taught me so much about like I mean, I always respected people that worked behind the scenes, but I had a new level of respect for people that, you know, spent sleepless nights making sure that festival goers had a great time. And when I played festivals, I always made sure that I showed, you know, my gratitude to the people behind the scenes, because, you know, as much as you look good, they're the ones that assure that you look good.
So do you think that having experience in different pockets of the music industry almost makes you a better musician because you know what it's like to deal with musicians?
Completely. I think it's empathy is such an important thing in any field of work that you're in. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So I think there's this disconnect that some artists who haven't been able to tap into, you know, the behind the scenes of the industry don't have. And I think for me personally, it just adds to how much I'm willing to work towards making my dreams come true.
Something that I've actually learned from Meagan is, you know, when you're an artist and whatnot, yes, as much as, you know, the music that you make is important, but also the image as well. And I feel like you are one of those artists who, you know, the image, like Meagan will also usually say, you know, is in line with the sound, you know, that comes from the music that you make. So when it comes to you as an artist and sort of the aesthetic that you go for, even when it comes to your Instagram posts or the photos you take, the way you dress and whatnot, bro, who would you say, you know, you draw inspiration from, you know, when we look at that aspect of things, bro? Where are the roots of, you know, the look and the type of feel that you go for?
Stylistically, I think I would owe, because, you know, I will say I have only come into my own fashion-wise for about a year now. Before, I was so scared of, you know, expanding my fashion and, you know, testing limits and everything. But I owe a lot of my fashion to Prince. I grew up on Prince, and I always admired how free and liberated he was, and how he didn't prescribe to gender norms and societal norms. And I mean, I always loved that. I always loved his music, but I was so terrified to, you know, emulate that in my style. But I think in writing An Ode To Growth, the number one part of that growth was, you know, losing that sense of control, losing that sense of fear of others' opinions, or, you know, the fear of feeling uncomfortable. And so I think I owe that to Prince, Moses Sumney, Solange, of course. There are a lot of Black artists that have just, you know, broken boundaries with fashion, music, and art. I owe a lot of my inspiration to them.
Yeah, I will say that I've been following your career for quite a while, and I noticed the shift when it came to An Ode To Growth Part 1. I noticed the shift, and it was mainly because of the visual shift. And like before that, I had almost seen you as a mostly gigging artist. And then suddenly I was like, wow, this person is putting things out. He's creating a presence, and it's in line with what I'm hearing. And it just makes me want to ask questions and like to listen more. It really, like, it took me. And since then, it's enabled me to enjoy you fully, because I saw that it's coming from a place that is truly you. Like, listening to your music is a way of celebrating that about you. It's really been such a joy. Like, there's one shot in the Heartbeats 8 visual that honestly gave me shivers. It's a shot where you're dancing in the forest. And all wearing black and white, and like, I'm thinking about it right now. I'm getting shivers again. Please tell me more about that visual, please.
Thank you. I'm so appreciative of the fact that you've been a part of the journey and seen, you know, the shift. Because Heartbeat 8 was just a visual that I have spent the last 3 years writing, because I love writing video treatments, and I love, you know, conceptualizing anything visual, because I'm a very descriptive and visual person. But like I said, fear really kept me bound to fear and money. I mean, that's the number one thing. Funding is also another thing that prevents you know, creatives from actualizing their visions. But Heartbeat 8 was a video that we made with under 10,000 Rand, which is so very small for anyone, that's in the cinematography field. But I knew that I had to make this visual because, in announcing this project, I wanted to announce that this is the artist that I am. This is the artist that I will become. I'm willing to break, a lot of boundaries just to show you that I care about my art. And I made that visual with Swart Cut and Drawn to Light Productions. And, it was the four of us who came together and shared our ideas. And we filmed that video in 2 days in 5 different locations with no sleep. Hustling the styling, hustling, transport and props and everything, just to make sure that we could, make a statement and say that we are here to, blow your minds and make you feel something. Because that's, for me, when I start creating visuals, I like to call them emotion pictures, because as much as, you're feeling something when you're listening to the music, I want that emulated in the video. And I want you to feel, you felt something through that forest scene. And I think that we did our job, honestly, because that's how I want that visual and further visuals to, affect other people and, to make people feel good and make people feel like, and also representation is important. I think for me, the number one thing is, as much as I draw inspiration from a lot of, my influences, I didn't really see a visual like Heartbeat 8 out there by someone that looked like me, but someone that thinks like me and dresses like me and, sings like me. And I was just like, I'm going to take the baton and, put this out there, and, whatever young boy, young girl that resonates with that and, feels like they've been represented, then I've done my job.
It's certainly clear, and I feel like I got to know you a little bit more, but on your own terms. And that bravery is so important. I'm so glad that you conjured up the guts and rallied together, and I'm so thankful that everyone put in such good effort. Like the shot on the stairway outside of the Delta building is like, so there's such pride in it, and it's like royal, but it has humility, and like you say, it's so emotive. It's hard not to feel while you're watching and listening. It's very difficult to be passive, even if you are not like part of the same crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Still connect on that sense of like togetherness. It feels like you have people around you that truly love you, and they come through.
Definitely. Yeah, no, those were all my friends, and it's such a beautiful thing. I think sometimes we take for granted the people that we have in our lives, and that day showed, when all my friends came out, that showed me just how much care there is with the people in my life, and how much people are willing to help me, create something to put out there in the world. And we just had so much fun. It was just a really fun day of just us being who we are. And, I love that there's such a sense of individuality, even though that we came together as a community in that, in that scene and everything as well. Even behind the scenes, I'm really blessed to have people that are just kind and willing to work together.
Bro, when you started, making music, did you ever think that, the music that you make would have, this much of an impact? I mean, right now, we're here. I'm in Durban. Meagan is in Joburg. We like people from different locations, bro, are, reaching out and, appreciating your craft. Is this something that you foresaw when you started making music, or did you sort of not really expect it?
I didn't. And I think it's strange, and I'll be very vulnerable with you. I struggle a lot with, insecurities and with believing in myself. And I like I said, the number one thing that I love to do and want to do for the rest of my existence is write music and create and sing. And I think the number one thing that drains me is comparison. And a lot of the times within this industry, I've compared myself to people that I have felt are better than me and are more successful than me, and have all these achievements and accolades and followers online. And for some strange reason, and it shouldn't, but affects me so negatively and makes me doubt myself and my capabilities. But when I take a step back and realize that I'm on my own unique journey, and my own unique journey is going to take the time that it's supposed to, I let go of that sense of control and just do what I'm supposed to do or what I'm meant to do in that moment. And when people like you come through and resonate with the stuff that I'm putting out and the words that I'm putting out, it just makes me feel really, really happy, and my journey is not in vain.
I get it. I totally get it. I go through the same things. And that's one of the reasons why I can almost confide in your music, because I need to see other people going through it while I'm going through it. In fact, I will go through it to your music. So it's something that is needed. We need to see, we're at a point where we don't want to see only success. We want to root for people for the whole ride. We want to root for their change. We want to root for them when they're having a bad day. And the point is to not be alone in those things.
Yeah, and for me, I think, if you've seen my social media, I'm a very opinionated person, to my own detriment sometimes. But I was just raised to be vocal about, injustices and things that I, feel should be spoken about. And with my music, I am so transparent about not only the positives, but also the negatives, because I think the thing about comparison that I spoke about before is I saw all these successful people and they made it seem like it was so simple and so easy. And, and then you go through it and you're like, it's not as flowery as they're making it seem. So what's the actual truth? And I think truth is such a joy to listen to and such a joy to see. And I want to be able to, expose that, not to, create controversy, but to show other, creatives that it's not an overnight thing. And, sometimes it's going to be very, very terrible and saddening, and sometimes it's going to be exciting and happy, and that's a part of the journey. But transparency is key when you're especially with social media. I think that's how I've built my social media, is transparency. If you're going to message me, I'm going to talk to you. If you're going to comment, I'm going to respond. If I'm going through something and I feel like I should share it just for relatability and for a conversation, I'm going to do it, because we don't want to feel alone in these experiences, especially during a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah, and I really like that you touched on being, very opinionated and very vocal. It actually takes me to one of the posts that I've seen you put up on Instagram in terms of the whole Black Lives Matter movement. What role are you playing as an artist, when it comes to fighting against the injustices of, racism and whatnot, globally?
For me, I think it's opening spaces and calling out the gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers that profit off of Black artists but underpay us and underpay the successful ones. I think it's just building that conversation. I mean, out in the real world, I've been passionate about gender-based violence issues, and that's what my post-grad thesis was on. And I was protesting and doing a lot of that, but online as well. I think online activism is an interesting thing. Though lately I've been kind of over educating white folk and non-Black folk, because I think at this point there's some, like, Google is 2 steps away, so go and do that for yourself and educate your peers. I want to dismantle systemic racism from the music side of things, and call out the companies, the streaming companies, the gigging companies that underpay Black artists, and build a camaraderie of Black artists that Black artists in the sense that I guess people other us because we don't make the mainstream hip hop or pop or R&B or whatever, but music is still music. But there's a community of independent artists that aren't getting the recognition that they deserve, and work 10 times harder and spend 10 years still struggling. And I think that's insane and should be called out. So for me, it's just I'm a talker. I talk too much, and if we're going to have a fight verbally, then we're going to do it. So for me, it's just like calling out those systems that, continue to use Black art but don't actually do the work for Black artists.
Yeah, I think like you are one of the people that I've learned a lot from, and it's made me think a lot more about who I work with and why I work with them and what type of rosters are going up and, who's getting the attention and who's getting, compensated for it rightly. So I really thank you for making me bring those things to the forefront of my attention when I think about my own career. So it is reaching people.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
And something I also picked up when we were communicating, prior to this interview, bro, you did say that you had your dissertation that was due. And, when it comes to you being a musician and, juggling that, with your studies and whatnot, how do you sort of find a way to find you sort of, balance the two without maybe, lacking or not giving one or the other, enough attention and whatnot?
Yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's so difficult. And it's such a challenge to balance those. But I think for me, priorities are super important. And when I was an undergrad, I was just like, cool, I'm gonna do my assignments the minute I get them, submit that, and then go and do my shows. And I think it was 2018 when I put out my album, and we were touring so much. We were doing so many shows in Johannesburg, Cape Town, the Eastern Cape, and there was so much driving. And I mean, there was the one show we drove to the Eastern Cape. I had a presentation the Monday. We drove back the Sunday. Didn't even start the presentation, so I didn't sleep until the presentation on the Monday morning at 8. And, it's exhausting, but it's so possible if you just put the focus on, both. I think there's an interesting way to balance it because I was passionate. Well, I was passionate about the two. I'm saying I was because I'm done now. And I'm so glad to be done with school. I'm taking a break for like the longest time so that I can completely focus on music. But when I was doing it, it was excruciating, but it was also thrilling to know that I was kind of living two lives, and it was the best of both worlds because they always merged with one another. I was studying social justice, and I'm passionate about putting that within my music. So the two complemented each other, though sometimes they just, they were at a fighting point.
And with you studying, social justice, would you say it's more for the purposes, like you were saying earlier, to have something to sort of, fall back on? Or is it more something that you might actually looking at getting into, in the future, maybe after the music?
I think I can do them at the same time as I did when I studied. For me, it's just about, again, like I said, calling out the powers that be and, the systemic problems and, sexism and gender-based issues. What I've always been passionate about is policy reform, and in whatever platform I'm given, whether it's in the creative arts or within governance or whatever, wherever life goes, I want to be able to contribute to change, because that's so important to me, is making the world a safer place for women, for children, for, any other minority that exists. That's my number one passion. And, if I talk about that in my music, I feel like I'm contributing to the fight. If my thesis gets published and it contributes to, policy reform, then, I'm using my existence to the fullest.
Okay, so I'd like to talk about the last track of Free and the first track, or the Ode to Growth, part 1. Yeah. Is there a connection between the two?
No, there's no connection, and I wish I made a connection, but no. She was written for my mom. We got hijacked in Joburg, and it was during the day on a Sunday morning. And these guys pretended to be cops, and we had money on us as well. So they hijacked us at knife point, and they were physical with my mom, and I was trying to be physical back, and they jumped out, took the money, ran off. And in that moment, my mom, adrenaline filled, jumped off and latched onto their vehicle, and they drove off with her body kind of just like rolling on the highway. And I'm running after my mom, trying to help with this situation. And it was extremely terrifying because we're on a highway and there's so much happening and people are watching this unfold. And, she obviously lets go, loses grip and lets go, and she's hysterical, but she's also just thinking about her kids. And there's never been a moment in my life where my mom has never stopped to think about her kids and stopped to think about the people that she loves and strangers and everything. And I didn't sleep for weeks, and I was so terrified for her, being in the ICU, and terrified for the experience. And the only sense of healing that I could find was writing a song. And I wrote this song just to, commemorate the strength and power that my mom has always shown to have and always shown to others. And not only my mom, but every single woman in the world, every single woman, because I was raised, around women. I owe a lot of the things that I know to women. And so I wanted to make a song that showed, as minor as it is and was, I wanted to show my appreciation to women and for them to know that they're loved, they're seen, they're powerful, they're wonderful. And that's pretty much the story behind She.
That's a very powerful story, man. Just the way you even explain it, bro, you can just feel the emotion. And with anyone as well, you may be yeah, bro, like you've put us right in there.
Yeah, I that's a difficult song for me to sing because I just remember the moment and just lose my shit and cry. But I mean, my mom's still here. She's still as powerful as she was that day. And I think for me, it's just knowing that women that exist like that are so wonderful and so precious and should be respected and taken care of. But I mean, with I Know I Do, the first track on, and I think with An Ode To Growth, there's such a separation from all my previous projects, just because I wanted to be a lot more open and vulnerable about my experiences with, unrequited love and romance and depression and, a lot of the things around, being a 23-year-old in postmodern Africa or the postmodern society. And I Know I Do is just a collection of stories of, I just suck at finding people that, want to like me back. And I wanted to put that in a song. And it was just like about, I'm infatuated with you. I know that I'm, interested in you. Love, I'm not so sure about, but sometimes it feels like it, sometimes it doesn't. But, that uncertainty is discussed within the song. And I wanted to take a Taylor Swift approach and just, call out a bunch of people that did me wrong.
I think it's very beautiful to find that, in 2020, in an era where, you've got a lot of artists pretty much talking about nothing. It's really just refreshing to get someone who actually, sings and talks about something that comes from within, dude. This is really refreshing. I respect you for that, man.
Thank you so much.
And also now, just looking at something you also mentioned earlier as well, that in 2018, with your album launch, while you were still, doing your studying and whatnot, you mentioned a tour there, bro. And you were just saying, you guys were hitting like the Eastern Cape. You guys were just all over the place, bro. Now walk me through sort of, the best sort of moments when it comes to you performing and the live aspects of your performance, man. Are there any sort of shows that, stand out to you that are memorable?
Yeah. So we started this tour late 2017, just before the album dropped, and we did we did Daisies and Opi. It was my first time going to those festivals and my first time playing at the festival. So for me, that was really interesting and really cool. Very hectic though, because we played Daisies and then we had to fly back to Joburg the next morning at 4, drive to Opi, play Opi the next day, all in the rainy season. And I had lost my voice just after Daisy. So I wasn't speaking for 24 hours until Opi happened. And I was, just so terrified of losing my voice and not singing. But thankfully we killed it and it was a really fun time. And Opi was such a really good vibe. I loved the idiosyncrasy of just the people that we were around. There were so many different people from different worlds that I was wow, this is strange, but I love this world. And then 2018 came in and I was doing a couple of festivals, but also curating my own shows, which was extremely stressful. I did not like that one bit. We created shows at galleries and bars and stuff like that, and it was great, a really great learning experience about making money and losing a lot of money, but also just having other artists, because I had a lot of artist friends of mine, come through flying in from Cape Town or, from Joburg to play the shows. But I think I will say two of my most memorable shows, which were in different provinces. Actually, I want to say three. I'll say top three. The first I will say was Splashy Fen. We had a full house, and it was raining, and I think everyone was running away from the rain. They didn't know what was going on, and then they just were like, "I'm gonna hide from the rain," and then they somehow all came through to our stage, and they stayed. I mean, no one threw anything at us or walked away because it was so bad and thought it would be better to be drowned by the rain. But, people stayed and they vibed and they connected, and they, it was just a really fun time. We were joking around, and it was such a good vibe, and people were so kind. The Eastern Cape, I played this festival called the Ndumbi Green Fair Fest, and it was my first time in the Eastern Cape, and we did it in this really small town, and I just love seeing new places and learning new things. And everyone in that town it was by the Transkei, and I'm terrified of water, firstly, so I don't like the sea, I don't like swimming pools and all that, but it was such a beautiful breath of fresh air to be in that environment, be away from the city noise, be away from the industrialization of everything, and just be with people that live their lives totally unbeknownst to that environment, and play music for them. And they didn't know what we were playing, but they just danced and sang along and connected with us. But my favorite festival to date to have played at was Smoking Dragon. I love that festival. I went there for the first time in 2017 and came back the next year as a headliner, and I thought that was insane to be playing the main stage right after. But I think the universe just aligned really beautifully, and we played the main stage to just a lot of people, and they called us back the next year, and it was the same situation. And Smoking Dragon for me was such a turning point, and I think I owe a lot of An Ode To Growth's honesty to the fact that I became more open and honest about my self-discovery from being at that festival, from meeting open-minded people, from meeting kind people that didn't know me, didn't know my name, but felt my energy and contributed to that and said, listen, we're gonna discover each other throughout these 3 days, and you're gonna ring in the new year reborn or somewhat reborn, and find parts of yourself that you may have not been connected to, but will figure them out through whatever process is necessary. And Smoking Dragon is just a beautiful, beautiful festival for me. It's a really, really nice escape.
Dude, can I just say, from what you were saying earlier, there's something that you brought up where you were like, you sort of compare and you look at other artists and their success, and it sort of sometimes gets you feeling like, you're not as good, or feeling a bit of, insecurity. And I must just say, bro, I think with the festivals that you've just mentioned now, I firmly believe that this cements, this should instill, this thing of, you are where you're meant to be. You beyond great, dude. I mean, the fact that you've played Daisies, OP, Splashy, Smoking Dragon. Do you know how many bands, dude, and how many artists are still sitting at home and they're like, man, I wish I could play that. And bro, you even headlined Smoking Dragon. Shout out to you, dude. That is massive, bro. It cannot be understated. The caliber of those events, dude, is massive. Props to you, dude.
Yeah, I also recognize that. I mean, I'm a privileged artist, and I think for me, I never take for granted the novelty of these experiences, and I think that's why for me, any experience, any platform I'm given, I will take that by the horns and make sure that I ride that bitch till the wheels fall off, because no one's granted another opportunity. You're going to have to, make the most of the time that you're given and the opportunities you're given. And I'm just very grateful to still be new to this game, but still have all these experiences. And, I was thinking about it, just looking at the whole pandemic situation and how difficult how difficult it is for artists, especially gigging artists. And I mean, being an emerging artist and wanting to gig right now must be so upsetting, because I couldn't imagine not being able to perform. Like, I have these memories of these shows and these festivals that I've played at, and they comfort me throughout, my depressive episodes, or when I need to feel happy, or when I need to reminisce. And I'm just really, really grateful that I was able to do that when the world was a little safer.
Yeah, I think the gig circuit was one of the biggest sort of entryways that an artist could take to really get a sense of who they are as a musician and test out their music. And the way that we've just had to release the music before getting the sort of crowd feel of it has been very difficult. But I really respect the fact that musicians haven't stopped.
Yeah.
But what would you say, like maybe if you could give us some advice in terms of a new musician or someone who's starting to go public or take it seriously, and they have to sort of navigate an online world first? Do you have any advice for them?
It's so difficult to say, because I am not the best at social media. I'm also not sure of how things are going virtually, because I think the number one thing is internet, Wi-Fi, all these things are such a privilege that not many people have. And it's so difficult to, struggle firstly to record music and mix and master music, and then to have to pay for, say virtual concerts or all those other things. And if there's no funding available for emerging artists that need to be able to do that, or label support, or, whatever's out there, it's really challenging. And I'm not going to lie and say that I've found difficulty in figuring out how to further promote, my record, because what I would have done would be tour, doing shows, and connecting on a physical level out there. But there's obviously ways around that. I think, like I said, I'm not the best at social media, but for me, what's helped is just constantly communicating with people on social media, on my Instagram, using my friend network, sending broadcast messages on WhatsApp and asking them to send those broadcast messages to their friends, and so forth and so forth, so that the music reaches a wider network of people. Because if you have the privilege of having internet connection, then you have the power to connect further with more people, and you have to use that to your full disposal. So it's just, I guess, being as out there as you possibly can. But I know that's when you speak about artistry, it's a different conversation, because some artists prefer social media, some artists don't, and that's their prerogative. But I think right now the power of the internet is all we have, and do the YouTube stuff, do the IGTV, and just share. I think also the number one thing is artists that already have a platform need to reach out to these emerging artists and use their Instagrams to share these, the music, the videos, the content. Use that. I think for me, that's I think the best approach is reaching out, maybe, if they're kind enough to want to do that, or they have to. You were at the same point as we are, so surely you want to return the favor.
Yeah, and I think that really helps. Like, your insights and your perspective, and obviously your experience as well, bro. I feel like, from what you've said there, I feel like the listener or anyone who's an aspiring artist can definitely pick up, a lot on that. Just for me, just on my end, one final aspect that I just want to find out from you, bro, is I feel like people, when it comes to, we can get the music, we can get, the background story and stuff, but one of the first things that basically hits someone when they sort of get introduced to someone is their name. So if you could just walk me through your name, bro, what is the actual meaning behind it? Where does it stem from? Does it have any ties to, I remember earlier you said, You've got the whole Zambian descent and Botswana as well. You live there. Are there any ties to that? What does the name mean? Let us in on that there, bro.
Yeah. As far as I know, when I asked my mom when I was a kid, she said that my name doesn't have a meaning, which is cool, because you can prescribe your own meanings to it. But it's a Zambian name, and I think for me the first four letters spell out moon. And ever since I was a kid, I've always been obsessed with the different phases of the moon. And I, for some reason, am very, very, I'm not a spiritual person. It's a very difficult conversation to have. But when there's a full moon or, different phases of it, it really affects my energy. And full moons really make me happy. And I guess if you're looking at that spiritually, it's a positive thing. So I think for me, there's just a power in that. But yeah, that's the Zambian name to it. And for a very long time when I was trying to figure out my place in the music world, I think when you look at colonialism and a lot of, white dominated spaces, which is the music industry, I felt that my name was not something that I wanted to have at the forefront, because a lot of people, for some reason, even after I express how the name is pronounced, refuse to pronounce it the same way. And, just the Eurocentrism of just English names and all that really affected me. But I think I realized that no one really shares my name. So I wanted to be different. And then that I was like, I'm going to advance that, and you're going to learn how to pronounce my name. I think Uzo Aduba, an actress, just kind of said the same thing, echoed the same sentiments, where it was like, you're going to have to learn my name. If you learn Tchaikovsky and, Xavier and all those names, you're going to have to, teach yourself how to say, these African names. And I think there's power in that. And also just the power in the fact that I've been in these 3 African countries, Zambia, Botswana, and, South Africa. It's just given me a sense of, dynamicism and exploring my identity as a Black man.
When we did start, you did pronounce your name, bro. Just give it to us one more time. I think you said it's MOONGA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you know what I love? I love how South Africans pronounce my name. You guys say it with such joy and such rhythm. It's so lovely. I love it.
With me, when I was reading it, I thought it was Moonga, but then when you said it, in the beginning, bro, it really, shed some light on that. So, and I really appreciate what you said there about the pronunciation of African names. Like, you nailed it, like, nail in the head. I feel like that is one of the most important things, that should be happening. And not just maybe just names as well, bro. I think names of places too, because you get, but that's like an entire, like, different, that's for like a different podcast, altogether. But I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's for a part 2, definitely. Speaking of part 2s, is there going to be an Ode to Growth part 2?
Yes, definitely. I really hate that we're living in the current state of the world that it is, because I would have finished it. My plan was to put it out in August, actually. But because there's travel restrictions, I wanted to be in studio for a couple of months, as I did with the first part, and just sit with the songs and make sure that they're cohesive and sounding really great. But I will say that this next part is a lot darker and edgier, and a lot more funk is going to be explored. I think I would say it's got a lot of the vibes that Fool's Gold has, because that was the last song that we made for the record, and it was just so effortless to make. And I'm in this really interesting space of just exploring sounds and playing with words and just having a good time and still talking about the things that I want to talk about. So that's going to come out. I think I'm going to put that out in 2021, but there's a lot of new music that's coming very, very soon. I'm going to put out a lot of music before the end of the year. So I'm really, really excited to share that.
I think this is the perfect time for us to sort of look at, what's coming for you. It's great that you started out by mentioning, the upcoming music. Can we expect maybe any dates that you can give us, in terms of when we can, expect your next release, and anything else that you might have in the pipeline? I know it might be difficult, being under lockdown and whatnot, but, for your fans, what is it that you have planned, and what can we expect from you besides the music, for the remainder of 2020 before we close off?
More motion pictures. We just shot an emotion picture for I Know I Do. That is currently in post-production, but that should be out sometime in August. That's the plan. We've set a deadline for that, so we just got so much footage. I'm thankful for the same team that I had who were so willing to shoot during the pandemic, and we shot so much that I'm just excited and nervous, and we pushed a lot more boundaries as well visually. So there's that, and we're shooting some more visuals in a couple of weeks as well. Just shooting as much as we can while we are under, like, I think it's level 3, so that we spend, the rest of lockdown just editing and, creating more content that we're going to put out. So it's going to be a really interesting visual year that I hope people resonate with.
So are we gonna get a few more collaborations on the next record? Because one thing I have to say is that you have really impeccable choice when it comes to choosing collaborators.
Thank you. Yeah. I have so many songs with a lot of friends that I've been working with. I have this one friend, her name's Zoe, and she's got one of the best voices I've ever heard in my life. And we have this really special song that I'm just waiting for the right time to put it out, because I don't think the world's ready for her power, and she's just amazing. I mean, like Juliet as well. Rock With Me was originally just a solo song, but when Juliet had come through the studio, she had suggestions in terms of writing, and we ended up writing the whole song together in like an hour, and her voice is just insane, and I couldn't imagine the song being the song without her. So I'm just really proud to have her a part of the project. But yeah, a lot of collaborations I've got. I was going to spill a secret. I don't even know if it's secret because I'm not a very secretive person, but I've got an interesting collaboration with one of the singles coming out sometime in September. So it's an artist that I've been to 10 of his shows, and I'm just excited that we are even friends, let alone being able to create a song together. So I'm really excited to share that one out very, very soon.
I think I am the second most excited person about this. I think you would be the first. If you're the first, I think I'm the second. Low key, high key, but low key, but high key. Okay.
High key.
Can we get a shout out to Andrew Williams on production?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Oh my God, I've known him since I was 14. 13. I've known him since I was a kid, and we've made music since forever. And he was the only person for a very long time, and I still do, but for a very long time, I trusted him with my ideas and with my songwriting and with melodies and everything. And I was so terrified of letting that relationship go so that I could share it with other people. And, An Ode To Growth was the first time that I worked with more than, 2 producers. But, Andrew is just my musical co-conspirator. And I'm just so grateful that we can still create music even, as we're morphing into adults. Well, he's old.
Nah, that is solid, bro. I think basically, in closing, if people want to sort of get in touch with you and whatnot, let us know what your handles are. Let us know how people can sort of, drop you emails. Anywhere we can find you online, bro. Now's the time.
Yeah. All my social media is MOONGA K underscore at MOONGA K underscore MOONGA, the letter K underscore MOONGAK@gmail.com if you want to be my pen pal. I'm having a virtual concert in September the 10th. Tickets will be on sale soon, so I'm really excited about doing that. It's going to be strange, but I am really excited to be able to be reunited with my band, and we're about to give the best show that I would love to give in 2020. So whoever's keen, please tune in from my social medias for the tickets.
Hey, that is dope, bro. 100%. I'm super keen for the 10th of September, bro. And I'm pretty sure everyone else who's listening is going to be tuning into that. I just want to thank you, bro, for coming through to the show. I really appreciate your presence on here, bro. And just, all the stories that you've shared about your journey. It's just really special, man. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's always so wonderful to, have platforms like this that help advance the stories of artists. We really appreciate you.
Hey, that is proper, bro. Yeah, guys, please do tune into this episode. It's going to be available on Apple Podcasts. We are Sludge Underground Podcast, and obviously SoundCloud as well. It's Sludge Underground. And social media, it's Sludge Underground on Facebook, on Instagram at Sludge Underground, and on Twitter at Sludge031. The podcast also goes up on Spotify, Sludge Underground. As for myself, it's at Zwane031. Meagan, who are you online?
Thank you so much for letting us get to know you. It's been an absolute dream. You can find me on Instagram at LemonDoveDuo or at MOONGA K.
Monga, bro, I think on your side, I think we should just set the stage and sort of let you pick which song we can sort of close out with that you feel people will connect most with. I would have gone and said let's do I Know I Do, but I think let's just get it from you, bro. Which is your favorite song of yours that we can play out with?
Whoa. It's such a difficult thing because I love all the songs, but I would say I Know I Do as well. So I would leave you to choose between I Know I Do or Fool's Gold. I think I love how different both of those are, but kind of still reunited. So you guys pick.
Cool, guys. Please do enjoy. We've got Umonga. It's I Know I Do and Fool's Gold. Until next time, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's bye for now.
I get way too overcautious, leave my feelings then forgotten, brushed it off cause I forgot how to bring myself to ask you how we could find ourselves together. Brace myself for never, but I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't let it all out. But I love you, I think I do. But I want you, I know I do. But I love you, I think I do. But I want you, oh you. Looking back to all the times that I said I would quit, but here we are again, right back where the cracking rips. Open my heart, there's you. Can't seem to find no substitute. Running circles in a maze where you left me tripped. I can't focus if you noticed I was out of it. Patiently waiting for a sign, can you help me? But I love you, I think I do. But I want you, I know I do. But I love you, I think I do. But I want you, oh you.
Ninja.
One chance is all I need to show you I'm the man you see. Hidden desires I amplify to spark you up. How we will fly or how will we die is up to us. Maybe I'm lost, but I always find you. Maybe I'm going insane. Maybe I'll always be a fool, but you're a fool's gold, a fool's gold. One dance, I'll hold you close, jealous of all he knows. Treading on ice, never deciding who is right. Holding up hope, you won't let go, I hope I'm right. Maybe I'm lost, but I always find you. Maybe I'm going insane. Maybe I'll always be a fool, but you're a fool's gold, a fool's gold. You're a fool's gold. Maybe I'm lost, but I always find you. Stay with me, lay with me. This is ours. Bury your soul. Let me know if you're looking for yourself. I'm looking for a fool's gold. I'm looking for a fool's gold, yeah. I'm looking for a fool's gold. I'm looking for a fool's gold. I'm looking for a fool's gold. I'm looking for a fool's gold, yeah. I'm looking for a fool's gold. I'm looking for a fool's gold, yeah. I'm looking for a fool's gold. I'm looking for a fool's gold, yeah. I'm looking for a fool's gold. I'm looking for a fool's gold, yeah.